Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Atlanta Falcons Today. We're going to jump into ESPN's surprise roster cut article that they put on ESPN Plus behind the dumb paywall just a couple of days ago. We'll see who ESPN thinks is going to be cut during the 53-man roster cuts happening in just a couple of weeks, really a little over a month. But first, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel because if any roster moves happen next couple of days, weeks, months, we'll cover it all here on the channel. It's our one big promise to you guys to make sure you have the latest and greatest Falcon news. And so go down below, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe for plenty of more content. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into, again, ESPN's surprise cut candidates. Now, if you remember back, you're a loyal subscriber, a couple of days ago, or actually I think it was last week, I went ahead and posted my 53-man roster projection showing who I think will be cut and who will not be cut. ESPN did the same thing. They copied me. Well, not really. I'm sure they already had it planned months ago. But they went ahead and released their own 53-man roster projection. And they had, let's call it 5 surprise cut candidates. Now, I'm not saying that these cut candidates are not going to be cut. I'm going to be shocked if they are. But they were a little bit surprising compared to what my list was. And so we'll jump into who ESPN thinks is for sure going to be cut by the end of training camp. Starting with the wide receiver, Frank Darby. Now, it's not a surprise that Darby would be cut due to the fact that he hadn't played very much at all, or played very well during his rookie season. The surprise there would be they would give up on a second-year guy this early in his career. Now, if Frank Darby stinks, and there are other wide receivers on this roster, as you guys know that there are, we'll look at that in a second, then sure, cut him. I have no problem with it. I just think that it's a really bad look for the organization, especially Terry Fontenot, if you're getting rid of a wide receiver that you drafted literally last year in year 2. Unless the guy has like chronic injury issues or is a bad teammate, we're not seeing it, I think it'd be a little bit of a shock if Darby does not make the roster. Now, there are other receivers battling for that spot, as you see on your screen right now, and so I want the best person to win. It's not like you should go ahead and be guaranteed a slot just because you were a 6th-round draft pick last year, but you want the draft picks to perform better than the free agent additions. You want to be able to know that internally you're making some good calls in the NFL draft, and now you don't hit on every single one of them, but I'm hoping Darby at least has a push to make this roster and will eventually do that just because I want to be able to look back at Terry Fontenot's first year as a GM and look back at the draft class and go, it wasn't totally trash behind Kyle Pitts, because right now, not looking that good, but even though it's only year 2 for most of those, if not all of those guys. Okay, add a break pen comment down below. Name a player you think will get cut. Is there a player that you think is a guaranteed cut on the Atlanta Falcons? Let me know who that player potentially is. Go down below and answer the pinned comment. It'll be the first comment. We pin it up there. That's why it's called a pinned comment down below right now. All right, next player on the list is Geronimo Allison. ESPN says Allison will not be in the final roster cuts, or will be in the final roster cuts when it's all said and done. And it's a little bit of a surprise to me because he's one of the more savvy veterans of this ragtag group of wide receivers. Let me just say this first. It's a cluster who wins these wide receiver spots, right? Behind Drake London, Bryan Edwards, and Olamide Zaccheaus, we have no idea. And so there is a good chance that Allison could be let go. But I think as you look up and down this depth chart, you got to find the veterans. You got to find the guys who have at least performed at some level throughout their career. I know he was with Aaron Rodgers, but Allison, I think, is a guy who makes some sense. I really see an Allison versus Auden Tate kind of battle brewing here during, the remainder or the end of OTAs and into training camp. These are two guys, I think, fighting for wide receivers, 4, maybe 5 numbers. And I think Tate is kind of the one that the fans want because Auden Tate has, a great body in terms of the right size and has a really great wingspan. And oh my gosh, maybe if he eventually becomes good, he'd be great. Sure. But I think that him and Geronimo Allison are the two guys that are battling it out right now to go ahead and get one of these final wide receiver roster spots, and ESPN says it was Allison, and so that's what we're talking about today. Allison is the next guy to be let go on these ESPN surprise cut list candidate video. Okay, we do have the best Falcon coverage all year long. I'm telling you guys, there are plenty of Falcon YouTube channels out there and plenty of guys that react to the big giant breaking news like, oh my gosh, Desmond Ridder's a Falcon, video. We do that plus stuff like this. Like, we literally talk about the Falcons on July 7th, which is supposed to be, one of the worst months or beginning of the worst months in the National Football League calendar. And yet here we are giving you guys great Falcon content. If you guys appreciate that, if you like to stay up to date on the Falcons, regardless of how breaking the news is, whether it's small news, medium news, big news, massive news, we cover it all here on the channel. So if you appreciate that, go down below and subscribe as we give you guys plenty of great and free content. Okay, next player on the list here is Caleb Huntley, who, okay, here's the deal on Caleb Huntley. I like him. I think he has a chance to make this roster. And I think that as you look at the running back depth chart, it's not very strong. Now, we know the locks. We know that Williams is most likely going to make this roster. We know, obviously, Tyler Algier for sure is going to make the roster. And Patterson's your number one, even though he's not a true running back, the hybrid role, whatever it is. But after that, I think you got to keep a fourth. I think they keep 5 total with Keith Smith being a fullback, running back, whatever. He kind of falls in the running back depth chart. I think Huntley has a very real chance. Now, the guy he's battling with is Avery Williams. And Avery Williams, the former cornerback, swapped over to running back, is very intriguing. I don't know enough about him playing running back, right? Like, I haven't watched him play running back at OTAs yet. I've had people out there who did see him play, and they think he looks pretty decent, at least looks the part of a running back, but it's just so darn early. This is a cut that will not happen early. You know how there are cuts like each week they start whittling down the roster? The running back cuts will come at the very, very end. They need them in preseason games during the 3, and I think preseason is where you're really going to find out if it's Williams or Huntley who goes ahead and makes the final roster. I think Huntley over Williams makes a little more sense. I think transitioning from cornerback to running back, no matter how much you played it in high school, is a factor. But the fact that ESPN has Huntley going and Avery Williams staying was a little bit of a surprise to me in terms of cut candidates. Now, this running back depth chart, it's interesting, right? I think Algier is your key to having a successful rushing attack in 2022. Whether he's good, if he's good, they're going to be good. If he's bad, obviously not going to be that good. But grade the Falcons running back depth chart right now. A, B, C, D, or F. Give me your grade on this one. Very curious where you guys are at on that. I'm at a C+. But if Algier plays well, 700 yards rushing this year, 800 yards rushing this year, then maybe you bump it up to a B-. But that is where I'm at on the running back grade. See what you guys think down below right now. Okay, next is Dorian Etheridge. Now, this is not... Okay, let's be real here. Would you be shocked if Dorian Etheridge was cut? I wouldn't. I mean, at all. I think that there's a good chance he'd be let go pretty soon. But at the same time, when you look at a guy like Etheridge, you think, special teamer, right? And they need enough special team linebacker guys to be, coverage on punt returns and obviously wall breakers or, kick return guys as well, or kick coverage guys. But the real surprise here was that Deion Jones did make the roster. And I think the point I'm trying to make here is that Etheridge makes the roster if Jones doesn't. And I had it in my cut candidate video that Jones doesn't make the roster. I'd be shocked if he does. I know he's still on the roster right now. He's recovering from the shoulder surgery, but he doesn't want to be there. And Atlanta doesn't want him on the roster. They want Troy Anderson, right? They want these young guys, Rashawn Evans, Michael Walker, to go ahead and win these linebacker jobs. And so whether Deion Jones is there or not, I think is a very, very impactful thing when you try to keep another linebacker who is not going to play a bunch, but could be a special team guy. So I'm shocked that they kept Deion Jones. So he obviously is not on the list. We had to at least mention the fact that ESPN had him on there. They did have a little blurb saying, oh, who knows what's going to happen, but we're going to keep him on there. And I'm like, maybe. I would just be very, very surprised. And so I'm going to say Jones is off, and then Etheridge would come off the list because he would probably stay on the roster. Okay, predict the Falcons record. Where are you guys at? As we head towards training camp, less than 19 days away from Falcons training camp, where are you at in terms of your Falcon record prediction? You feeling good? You feeling bad? Let me know what it is right now. I'm hoping 8 wins. I think 8 wins would be a successful season. Now, not successful in terms of winning because you're obviously having a losing season at 8-9, but I think that 8 wins would show that this team is trending in the right direction and that the 2023 season could be a time to be competitive and a time to actually go ahead and maybe take over a division that's not going to have Tom Brady. We'll have Baker Mayfield now and then move into, I guess, Jameis Winston, right? There's a chance for Ritter or Mariota to be the best quarterback in this division next year, especially since Brady will likely retire. But right now, I'm keeping the prediction a little bit safe, probably 7 or 8 wins. Okay, final cut candidate here is the quarterback. Is he a quarterback? Who knows? Tight end, hybrid, whatever, Feleipe Franks. Now, ESPN does not have him on their final roster, and I get why. I think Feleipe Franks is facing an uphill battle, whether he's going to be a practice squad quarterback or a backup tight end. He's working out with both of them right now. He's probably in a really tough position trying to learn 2 different sides of a playbook, whether it's a quarterback playbook or a route-running tight end playbook. But ESPN has Franks being cut. I disagree. I think Franks is going to work his way onto this roster. And I think he's going to work his way onto this roster just from the fact that Arthur Smith is appreciating what he does. And I think he's working really hard. And I think that there are plenty of precedents for quarterbacks, at least maybe in high school or college, switching over to tight end. And plus, he's fast. Remember watching those preseason games last year? He looked pretty good in those preseason games. And so, while I wouldn't be absolutely blown away and completely flabbergasted if Feleipe Franks is let go during training camp, I think he's going to find a way to make this final roster. I think that he will be either a tight end or a quarterback or just be a hybrid guy that they want to keep in there to help on special teams and help out, during tight end plays or whatever it is. I think he makes the roster, and so that's why he was on the list of surprise cuts by ESPN. Okay, all time for today on our ESPN Surprise Cut Candidate roster video. We're going to do a mailbag video later on this week. I want you guys to give me some mailbag questions, but really, give me some trade ideas. We want to do a trade mailbag video, and so if you guys have a trade for a player that you think makes sense, give me the trade. Like, let's trade this player for that player. Let's trade Deion Jones for this guy, or this guy for a draft pick. Give me your mock trade ideas down below. I'll go through them in a mailbag video later on this week, Friday or Saturday. Give me some good ones, of course. Hashtag Falcons and must be a subscriber to do that. Okay, all time we have for today on our Atlanta Falcons news rumor video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned, those mailbag videos are coming, and we got a lot of great content happening next week as we march towards training camp. For producer Jeffrey, I'm Thomas, signing off for the rest of your day.